Hi, Shalom everyone. It's going to be Shabbat Parshat Devarim this Shabbat, and it's all about Chazara, repetition, as we're going to re-encounter what actually occurred in the previous Parashiyot inside the Torah. Very interesting. And we know that we've actually progressed through. We've done Bereshit, Shmot, Vayikra, also Sefer Bamidbar. Now we are in what's also popularly known as Mishnah Torah, Sefer Devarim. Mishnah Torah, obviously, it's a repetition of the Torah because we recount Moses before he passes away, is going to, let's say, give some chizuk to Am Yisrael and recounter, let's say, main highlights of self-improvement and maybe places where maybe they fell short during the 40 years inside the wilderness and the prior time period of that. So we're talking all about Chazara today. And Parshat Devarim has been described as even a Musa Sefer by some people. Now the entire Chumash, let's just say, is in essence Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, repeating over various mitzvot to the children of Israel, to Bnei Israel, and warning to keep them faithfully with pure emunah. Now the repetition Chazara is what gives it the name Mishneh Torah. This transliterates specifically as a repetition of the Torah, and thus the name, let's say Devarim, Deuteronomy, as we say Deuteronomy in English, the duo root in Latin meaning two, duo, duet, dual, dual. For all the French, for everyone that's French out there and is fluent in French, there's just a bit of vocabulary for you. And anyone non-French, you get to learn a few extra, words or sounds of a different language. Anyway, Latin aside, the issue of going over things, chazara, repetition, is an important one and one we shall try to dwell on and spend a bit of time on. The dilemma is the following. The Chumash is rightly entitled the Mishnah Torah, for it repeats much of the mitzvot. It repeats much of the mitzvot, it repeats it, and so on and so forth. Yet many new things, new halachot, new laws, let's just say, is given, let's say, within regards to each mitzvah, are learned because of these repetitions over here, which are, of course, also obviously given at Mount Sinai, Har Sinai, naturally. Therefore, this question is, why is the Chumash called ostensibly a repetition if many new, let's say, laws or comings out are going to be produced from it? Now, this allows the conversation to be brought of the general theme of Chazara, going over things again, revising. This is not limited to revising things once one had learned Torah, for example, but it could include repeating the same events each year. For example, there's an annual cycle of Chagim, so every year we're going to have a festival of Sukkot, we're going to have a Rosh Hashanah, we're going to have Yom Kippur, we're going to have a Chanukah, we're going to have a Purim, so on and so forth. Now, the idea is that Chazara, repetition, is not merely, let's say call it repetition, a mere dry reoccurrence of that what has occurred before, obviously, on a specific anniversary. Rather, it always produces and creates something new each time. Now, there's a few examples that's actually brought. Firstly, the Jewish calendar is basically an annual cycle or calendar of Chagim. Some might say that this is a circle in which the same events are repeated every single year, so on and so forth. But it should be termed a spiral, let's just say, where each event produces new growth. And by the time that the same event comes along the next year, one is looking down from the same point as they were last year. There's a great rabbi once told me that the 70 interpretations of the Torah, so every year they say there's a figure of 70 years of a person's life. So every single year someone is learning Torah, they're going to have a different interpretation of somehow, however subtle it might be in and of itself. Now again, this idea is based on the three growth stages that has been mentioned. I think it was actually mentioned from Rabbi Akiva Tatz, is actually quoted over here inside this excellent article. The first, a short-term burst, let's say that is the event itself. Then there's a steady build-up to cement that burst, ensuing, let's say, of days and weeks and year. And then the third level of peak, that same event, the next year. Really, this, I think, was a way the world was set up in the short term. It only lasted a matter of hours. There was greatness of Adam HaRishon, and Chazal say that he was so great, Adam HaRishon, the angels could not distinguish between him and Hashem. That's how far they go. Then I think there was a decline of some sort, and rebuilding ourselves across thousands of years to climb up towards this specific level we're in now. And the third level of peak will be at the time period, I think, of Moshiach, when he is going to come and show himself, the time period naturally of the third Bet HaMikdash. And Be'ezras Hashem, it's going to come home now. I think there's also a point, is that the repetition creates something new, and it's not just a repetition of the old. Now, there's a great example that's actually given here in this article, which I'm reading, from the Vilna Gaon's explanation of the opening paragraph of Shemona Ashrei, the 18 prayers, which we say part of Shacharit, Mincha, and Arvit on a regular day. He says that the paragraph starts off with the phrases relating to Hashem, and the rest are explanations of what those phrases, let's say, entail. Now, let's say we start off Hakel, and the explanation of this is Kel Elyon. Similarly, Hagadol means Gomel Chasdim Tovim. Again, the theme is that there is an initial introduction of a concept, with only the later Chazarah being, let's say, a full expansion of this idea to reach its proper understanding. So this idea of Chazarah creating something new is also seen, obviously, in the study of Torah, how important Chazarah is a central role. Now, I think the Gemara actually says, to go on a tangent, that one who learns but does not go over it is like one who plants but does not harvest. That's how far it goes over here. Halomed ve'eno chozer kezorea ve'eno kotzer. Now, if Chazara merely let's mention a repetition of the old, then the Gemara should say that. It is likewise one who starts to plant but does not finish planting. The fact that there are two different processes mentioned shows over here that the Chazara is an entirely new process, and not just a repetition of the process, let's say, of learning, I think. In fact, I think the great Rabbi, the Or HaChaim HaKadosh, we mentioned about various occasions before, I think quotes from Vayikra 21, number 3, that the Midrash Kohelet Rabbah in number 310, which says that the reason that Hashem set it up, that we are prone to forget our learning, is so we have the new excitement of learning every single day. So every day one should have that excitement, especially when they open up a Sefer, a Torah book, to learn as if it's something new. Now, I think the Gemara actually in Chagiga, Masechet Chagiga, and Daf Tet, Amud Bet, says that going over something 100 times is a much greater level of serving Hashem than going over it 100 times. So, sing the chiluk over here. Since each time, let's say, it produces a new and deeper understanding, and each time it is absorbed with greater effect. Therefore, the Chumash is still naturally called the Mishnah Torah, despite the fact that many new things are learned from it. Let's just say, for this is what Chazara, getting new things to do, let's say, for example. And we see the importance of Chazara very much so, all throughout Jewish history, all throughout your learning, because if you want to get that highest level of learning, and you've really tried hard, you've done 500 pages, let's say, hypothetically, but you know you're going to get question tests on maybe a couple of areas, which might have been the areas that was not included in this part, let's just say, in of itself. So it's very, very interesting over here. So, but how important is Chazara? There's also a famous Gemara where we talk about, I believe, I can't remember I think we learned it actually going all the way back to Masechet Kedushin, towards the earlier stages, I think, in Dafim of 40 or 50, where there was there was a rabbi that taught someone once and had to teach him 400 times. I think just before the 400th time, a rabbi will come to the room and say, look, you've got to come, you've got to go to the student. So the student told him, I didn't understand, I need to hear it another 400 times, I didn't get any of it. So then the rabbi went out of his way totally to say, teach it another 400 times. Well, the importance of Chazara, you can get yourself onto another realm, especially, and help everyone around you improve, and how important it actually is. So wishing you well. We keep doing Chazara in every aspect of life. We look, we travel, we experiment, we check. Do we need to do Chazara, let's just say, within regards to our Torah learning? Is it good enough? Take an exam on it. Do we need to do Chazara on how we treat our fellow human beings, on how we treat our family? That's something else that needs to be explored. So when we talk about Chazara here, it's not just the actions we do, just in general. It's the actions that we're doing, like in the Torah sphere, the Torah atmosphere that we're in. Do we rise above the correct level? Those are all questions I recommend everyone to look at. And very important Chazara is in the Jewish religion. So on that note over here, friends, we cover a lot of videos here on this channel where we explore stories of the great rabbis of yesteryear, which I recommend everyone to look at. We've already spoken about possibly 1,100 biography videos of rabbis, and we do so much more also, which I have to also recommend. Now, there's a Mishnayot initiative going on in memory of Adel Bat Avram Melech. So I recommend everyone to learn Mishnayot, or if you don't feel comfortable learning Mishnayot in Hebrew specifically, then you could do it in English first of all, or you could, or that's something that can definitely be done also. So that's very interesting. I wish you all a good day. Thanks very much for watching, and I'd like to dedicate this Lunishmat Adel Bat Avram Melech, who sadly passed away about 2 weeks ago. Please do a lot of good deeds in memory and try and learn some Mishnayot. And there's a big initiative going out, let's just say, like where many people in general, if someone has lost their lives, they will do cover 42 different parts of the Chalakim of the Mishnayot, of the Mishnah respectively. So that could also be very, very important. So wishing you all well, take care, and Shabbat Shalom.